Hi guys, walkie-talkie here. I was just watching a film this morning because I'm having a rest day today. Not a film, a documentary about the 80s. Oh, wasn't it all just so innocent when you think back to it? I don't know how old you were, but it just reminded me of everything and how we've changed. You know, when you used to have those phones and you had to go and if someone had lots of nines in their number, you're like, oh god, this is going to take hours. And it was brilliant though, because you had to wait. It was just the way things were. And if you were meeting someone and you called someone and then you're going to meet them on the train, whatever, you had to be there, because you couldn't just ring them on your phone and say, oh yeah, you know, I'm not going to come now, or I'm late or something. You had to make it work, because normally if you were looking for a phone booth in the UK anyway, they were normally completely vandalized and they smelt of wee, so you couldn't even go in them, or there was a queue or something like that, and so you had to do what you said you were going to do. And in a way it kind of forced you out of your comfort zone, and it also forced you into behaving in a way, I don't know how to say this, that could have sort of made you go into society. You know, it made you engage with society. You had to go to the post office. There was no other way of doing it. You still do most of the time have to go to the post office. You had to go places because, you know, we didn't have online stuff. The internet wasn't around. You had to go to do your shops. You had to go and pay bills. You had to go and meet people. You had to go to the bank. You had a bank manager that you used to sit there and talk to, who'd tell you how awful the state of things were. You know, everything was sort of in person. To tax your car, you used to have to do this, that and the other, and then go to the post. Oh God, it was such a palaver. It's so easy now. But the difference is that, you know, when I watched this thing about the 80s and the programs as well, the programs were so fantastical. You know, it went through Dallas, which is amazing, and especially in the UK here, it was huge. As Roxby would say, it was huge. It was huge. Alan, I just don't know what we're going to do. I mean, Dallas, who shot JR? Who shot JR? I don't know. Let's look at the guards. Oh, no, I can't look at the guards. And the guard's going to tell me what's going to happen in court? I don't know, because I got my court date coming up, but this is huge. Anyway, I digress. Dallas, who shot JR, was massive here. And I was just looking at this morning going, oh, God. And even though it was so ridiculous, we had this suspension of disbelief that we probably don't have now. Maybe we do. And, you know, and even, I don't know whether JR came back. I don't think he did. I think it was Bobby. Didn't he go into a coma or something and then came back? Or he died. That's it. And he came back. And then you found out that basically half the entire series was complete fantasy and was all his dream. Didn't he just wake up in the end and it was all the series was his dream? And we were like, what, are you kidding me? But we went with it. And then MTV came into the mix, and we'd never had this before. We'd never had a station that just showed music videos, and music videos were huge in the 80s. It was the way people bought records. They saw the video, they went out and bought the vinyl, and you just recorded the video, you know, on the VHS, and then you had to put a little thing in it so no one would record over it. I remember I had all the Duran Duran videos because I was a massive Duranie. And I used to dress like Andy Taylor. And then I saw Andy Taylor a couple of years ago, actually. And there's a story in a place where I was working. And he's beautiful now. I mean, my God, they all look good. But Andy Taylor... No, Roger Taylor. Sorry. Andy Taylor looks good. Roger Taylor. Whew, I saw him and I was like, oh. Anyway, I used to dress like Duran Duran. And I remember that we got hold of the Girls on Film video, which was the raciest video, and it was banned everywhere. Do you remember when videos were banned? Like Frankie Goes to Hollywood was banned, so therefore you kind of went underground, which is basically to your mate, and got hold of it. And then, and then you all used to share it around and keep it in your drawer so your mum wouldn't find out. And the Girls on Film video, I've got to say, is still hot, you know. It's still, I still couldn't watch it with my mum. You know, I'd still be sitting there going, it'd be still a bit weird. But yeah, all those videos came around, and MTV, it completely changed. And then, you know, Miami Vice was basically MTV on a cop show, and I forget how gorgeous Don Johnson was, probably still is. And they took, and the producers admitted that they just took basically such long shots and put like a Phil Collins soundtrack to it, and you'd just see a car driving, swapping hands, for about 4 minutes just to a piece of music, and we thought that was cool, you know. And we did, because we just went with it, because we sat there and we weren't splitting our brains, you know, where we were watching one thing while doing another. If you're watching a TV show, you were pretty much watching a TV show. If you're with someone at dinner, you were pretty much with someone at dinner. If you're on a train, you were on a train. You didn't have a phone to look at. You read a book or a newspaper. And in the UK, I remember in the 80s, or I remember when I was younger, it's a long time ago, you had carriages. So you had these little booths, and it was 3 seats one side, 3 seats the other, and then you pulled those doors across and you were in this compartment. And of course it was all smoking then. And when you think back now, it's so disgusting, but it was all smoking, and then they had the one smoking carriage, and you just sat there. You had to sit there, and you just took the train wherever you were going, and then you got off. And now, if you imagine however long a train journey where you're just sitting there looking out the window, most people would find that horrific, because we're so used to doing so many things at the same time. But then it begs the question, do we do all of these things well to the utmost of our ability and make all of the right decisions? Because how can our brain be engaged in so many things at the same time? I know I rarely answer the phone. I rarely talk to people on the phone, on my mobile phone, because I really struggle to completely engage in a conversation while I'm doing something different, even though I'm talking now. I really find that hard, and it doesn't come naturally to me, because I want to give someone my complete attention. And it's the same when I see someone. I always find it very odd when you're at dinner with someone or something and they put the phone down on the table. And it might seem completely normal, but me being of the generation where we didn't have all this kind of stuff sees it as, right, I'm with you, but I'm just going to keep this there in case something else more interesting can engage my brain that I might have to do. And they may not consciously be thinking that, but that's subconsciously what's going on, that there's an avenue that they keep open just in case. And I always say to my friends, get your phone off the table, or, what else are you doing right now? Just, be present. And it's very, very hard to be present now. It's hard to sit on the train for 45 minutes and be present that you're on a train for 45 minutes going somewhere. That's what you're focusing on, or, a single thing. So it's changed neurologically how we operate. Especially younger people, they won't know the change because they were born when we have had the internet and we have had smartphones. My God, I remember my first phone. It was a Mercury Flare Plus, my first mobile phone. It was massive. It was the size of like a tree, and it had that long thing that you used to pull out. I thought it was incredible. And then I was at Soho House one night, and a friend of mine, he was a wonderful magician. He used to take me to the magic circle, right? And he showed me this thing called like a smartphone. And I was like, what's that? And he said, let's go and see what's on the cinema. And I was like, all right. And I got up and went. And he said, no, we're going to look on this. And I was like, what was that? And he showed me that he could see the cinema listing came up, and I cried. I went, what is this? And he said, I can get on the internet on this. I was like, no, because I was still on dial-up mode, the slow speed internet. And we all know what we used to go on internet for in those times. But anyway, everything changed. And so he could get on this on his phone. And then more and more people got this thing. And it's completely changed how we live in a very short space of time, hasn't it? I mean, children now, or young people now, are so used to it that they wouldn't imagine having to queue for an outdoor phone in a phone booth, or not be able to contact someone. And when you take their phone away from them for even a day, that high anxiety comes because they're not sort of reachable, or they can't communicate what they want to do at that point in time. And I think that's the point, is that we are losing this delayed gratification of, I can't do that now, this is what I'm doing at the moment, I will do that in a bit, or I will do that at this point. And so we can't sort of find resolution to our wants and desires and feelings. We don't really have a sort of conflict resolution with other people and within ourselves. If I want to call so-and-so and my battery has run out and I'm on a train, for most people, the high anxiety, the need to find another person on the train to charge that phone so they can do what they want to do at that point in time rather than wait is huge. Is huge. And, you know, also, conflict resolution with other people as well. Problems. So the more online children are, especially as they're developing, you know, a child's brain doesn't develop completely until their early 20s. And for children to evolve, you need to learn delayed gratification, conflict resolution, can bring you into a sort of healthy way of being. And it sort of takes that away. It's a bit like an indoor treadmill. It's taken the sort of back part of the push of the step away. So you've only really got to work on one part of it. And it's the same with this, because if you're online doing games, you are in control. And you may get killed in the game or whatever, but you are in control basically. And you could stop at any time and you can control what you do. In real life, that's not the case. Life is going to happen, whether you like it or not. You can't control what is going to happen completely in your life. You do not know. You can control certain things, but part of being able to get through that is to find a way through, is to have fortitude, is to find conflict resolution so you can have relationships. You know, if someone doesn't do something that you want them to do, if a child or any of us as adults doesn't know how to either accept that person as they are, leave that person, speak to a person with respect like another adult to find a resolution and move forwards, then society breaks down completely breaks down. Hence why the trolls on social media is such a shame, because these are people who suffer from that. They are people who don't know how to communicate their feelings, their problems. They don't know how to find conflict resolution because they want just the conflict. So that's what breaks down social media. It breaks down social media sites. You know, YouTube is not what it was because of this, because of people who do that. It takes away all creativity and it drains society. So we need to keep building children up in that way, that they can learn to do that for themselves. And I wonder if their brains are split, half doing this, half doing that, in this very tender time, that they're not getting the ability to have that strength, to have that part of being human, that part of evolving as an adult. On the same vein, what the young people have who have never known anything but the digital is things that we will never have in our head. The ability to do it so fast, the ability, their neurological pathways are different and they're open to all things new. They're open to a different way of thinking. They're open to basically more of a computerized way of being. And that's what Apple promoted, basically, the computer that works, they think, like your brain. Swapping hands. And in a way, have our brains become more like an Apple computer? You know, which is following which now? Who knows? So there are pluses and minuses. But, you know, seeing that program about the 80s really made me think that it was so much simpler. You know, you had to look through yellow pages to find something. I remember when I came out of drama school, I was living in this sort of beautiful squat in Camden, and I just found it at the yellow pages one day and rang up the bloke, and he said, "Oh, it's this," and I moved in the next day, and you know, it was just so innocent and simple, but sounds scary now, but you know, seeing all those programs. But then again, we look at the Cosby Show, and at the time it was so popular, so amazing, right? And then we all know that the entire time Bill Cosby wasn't exactly the shining example that we thought, which is terribly sad. So with knowledge comes protection, but also, do we have too much knowledge now about certain things, you know? And I just wonder that hopefully young people, teenagers, or children will be able to grow and find that conflict resolution and delayed gratification, that know that if they can't do it now, they can wait. You know, if they can't have that chocolate now, they can have 2 later. And to learn that ability is so strengthening to an adult, or so strengthening to a healthy adult, to think something and not have to act on it, to know that your thoughts aren't facts, to know that to see the longer road, the longer journey, the bigger picture is so much part of being a healthy person. And we all slip up, we all can't see it, we all get too close, we can't see the wood for the trees because our heart speaks a bit louder. And we need both. But to be able to just take that step back, and you know, I wonder if people are going to be as strong in doing that now, that we're thinking about so many things at the same time. We have everything right on our fingertips. Where does it stop? You know, where does it stop? What happens if it all breaks down? What happens if something goes wrong? You know, I think it would be absolute mayhem, but then I think we'd find a way through. You know, we found a way through lockdown, and we've never seen anything like this in our lives before, especially in the UK, you know, where nothing is happening. There's nothing. And we found a way through. Would we have found a way through without social media, without phones, without the internet? I think we probably would have done. It would have been so difficult, but we would have done. We did before. Anyway, so I'm kind of banging on about time and how it changes and how it changes you. And I wanted to ask, what do you miss, if you're at a certain age, what do you miss about growing up in a different time, before the internet, before your phone? What were your loves? What were your hates? And what was freeing and what wasn't? I'd love to know. Anyway, have a great day, guys. It's freezing, so I'm going to get my hands in my pookies.